So back in the late 1800s, one of the biggest innovations in biking was invented, and it was called the safety bike. And it paved the way for what we would say is the modern design for a bike. But the next big breakthrough in biking technology wasn't far behind the safety bike, and that was the rear derailleur. Now this is a modern rear derailleur. This is the SRAM AXS wireless rear derailleur. And this right here represents the near pinnacle of derailleurs that are available to consumers like you and me. Now the original derailleur system was invented around the 1800s and really didn't come into fruition until about 1912. But after about 1912, we started seeing dual pulley rear derailleurs that were actually cable driven. So you pull a cable and you shift through your gears. Pretty much the exact same concept as what we do today. Moving forward several years to the 1950s, you started to see this type of technology in modern bikes and also being used in famous races like the Tour de France. And then if you move even further to the 1980s, Shimano invented a game-changing aspect to all of the derailleur technology, and that was index shifting. The shifting would actually move exactly the distance it needed to shift up the next gear. With that, you would just push a lever, it would pull the cable and move the derailleur the exact amount to get it into the next gear. Now around 1987, SRAM stepped into the game to compete with Shimano. And in the 90s, it was a huge battle between those two companies to make better road shifting technology, but also to drastically improve mountain biking technology. Because in the 90s is where mountain biking really started to take hold. And then if we fast forward to the mid 2000s, you started to see Shimano come out with their electronic shifting. This would replace the pull cable with a simple wire. That wire would communicate back down to the derailleur and tell the derailleur to shift. This was the first start of electronic shifting. And then in 2015, SRAM made a major move and said, let's snip that wire and let's go completely wireless. They came out with their first wireless setup on their 11-speed red E-TAP road bike set. We weren't quite there for mountain biking, but this was a step in a huge direction. And then only a few years after they came out with the SRAM E-TAP road bike group set, they came out with their first fully wireless mountain biking group set, the SRAM AXS. So there's only two components that you need to install when it comes to the SRAM AXS setup. One is the rear derailleur, and two is the shifting pod. That's one of the benefits that makes wireless so nice. It's super simplistic. There's no worry about running cables internally or externally, no cable housing. You simply just bolt a pod to your handlebars and bolt on the rear derailleur, and then the setup should be relatively simple. Now my setup is a little bit more complicated, and I'm taking a little bit of a risk that this is even gonna work. I have seen SRAM, Shimano kind of hybrid setups, and I've also read that these setups work really, really well. However, most of those people are using Shimano cassettes and Hyperglide chains. I'm not doing either of those. So I'm going to be using a Sunrace cassette and a KMC X12 chain. I really don't think, based off of the research I've done, that I'm going to have any issues with shifting with this particular setup. However, if I do over the next couple of months, I may be looking into either getting a SRAM cassette with a SRAM chain, or just go ahead and getting a Shimano cassette with a Shimano Hyperglide chain. But there's only one way to find out, and that's to finish this setup and actually get out and take it for a test ride. So let's talk about the downfalls and the benefits of going wireless. For me, wireless sounds like a really intriguing thing. I love technology, and wireless technology is the top of the line when it comes to mountain biking products. You can get things like wireless seat posts and wireless shifting. I think that stuff is pretty cool. However, the big downfall of this is the cost. This derailleur setup with the pod, the derailleur, and the extra battery is going to cost you about $475 before tax and shipping. That's a really high price, considering that if you were to buy the wired version of SRAM's rear derailleur setup, you could get the highest end XX1 for that exact same price. So I'm going with the lowest end wireless setup versus the highest end cable pull setup. The second downfall, and you'll see this all over YouTube if you just look up any videos on wireless shifting, and that is having to remember to charge your batteries or take an extra battery with you. So with a regular cable pull system, you don't have to worry about that. You just pick your bike up, head out on the road, and you're good to go. But with this wireless setup, if you forget to charge your batteries or you don't bring an extra one and your batteries die, well, you're gonna be riding a single speed for the rest of the day. And the last downfall in my mind is something that probably won't be as big of a deal on the SRAM setup because it's been out for several years, but relying on a wireless signal. We've all fought with Bluetooth over the years, whether it's connecting headphones or other Bluetooth devices, and I have a feeling that these wireless setups could potentially run into finicky connection issues. However, that's not a complaint that I see a lot of online, so I'm crossing my fingers that I don't see those type of issues. But the benefits could definitely outweigh the downfalls. You're gonna get super easy setup. You never have to worry about cables ever again. You just simply put the pod on your handlebars, hook up the rear derailleur, and that kind of leads me into the next thing, and that is the reaction time of the shifter to the rear derailleur. With a cable pull, you do have to push in the lever, but with wireless, it's just a little push of the button. And you can scream through the gears with these wireless shifters, and that could be a really big benefit if you're needing to shift really, really fast. And that leads me to the next thing is high precision adjustments. You can actually micro adjust this with 0.25 of a millimeter and get it to index exactly perfect for your particular cassette. So there's gonna be no more guessing with barrel adjusters whenever you're out on a ride. You can just make super small adjustments relatively quickly on the fly to be able to get your indexing just right. Setting up the AXS system has been surprisingly easy. However, I am having a little bit of a shifting issue. As you can see here, when I'm in gear 6 or gear 7, it wants to jump around between 6, 7, and 8. And I've got to play around with this a little bit more. I've been messing with the micro adjustments and it seems to get better in one gear, but then it'll mess up on another gear. So I'm also going to check to make sure that my derailleur hanger isn't bent, but I highly doubt that it's bent because the Derailleur XT derailleur that was on here before was working flawlessly. I personally think it's probably more to do with the Sunrace cassette and the KMC chain. I may just have to switch over to a full SRAM system, but I'm gonna give this a try for a little bit, see if I can get it dialed in and get it working for me. All right guys, I hope you enjoyed the history of the derailleur that I went through and the install of the SRAM AXS. I can't wait to see how this works for me in the long run. If you guys have set up a system just like this with that similar chain and cassette and it's working for you, let me know in the comments below. And do you think I should go with the SRAM cassette and the SRAM chain, or should I go with a Shimano cassette and a Shimano Hyperglide chain? Let me know in the comments below, but as always, we'll see you guys in the next one. All right, if you guys are still watching, you are super dedicated and I really appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, you might as well click that subscribe button because it's completely free. And also, if you want to become a member to support this channel, go over to my members tab on my YouTube page and you'll see over there are 5 different levels to choose from, all the way down to 99 cents a month. So when you become a member, there are a couple different benefits that you get. One is pre-released videos before anybody else sees them. And during that period before they go public, they will be ad-free. Not only that, if you join and you want an official Run Bike Mike sticker, I'll happily mail you one. So if you want to support the channel even more and get some benefits out of it, jump over to my members tab and become a member. All right guys, we'll see you in the next one.